Hey Colts fans, I'm JJ Stankevitz and welcome into another episode of the Colts Show, an Indianapolis Colts podcast presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, and I am thrilled to welcome on my guest today. It is Hall of Fame running back Edgerrin James coming to us from Miami, where, Edge, I'm assuming you will be going to the game on Monday between Miami and Indiana.
Absolutely.
All right, so I have some bad news for you, though. This podcast is going to come out on Tuesday, and I'm going to ask you about the Miami-Indiana game. So you're kind of putting your prediction down here. You're talk about it after people will know what the outcome of the game is. But if you're celebrating a Miami win early hours of Tuesday morning, why will Miami beat Indiana in the College Football Playoff National Championship game?
But Miami has a great football team. Both teams are great, but we're home and we're hungry. And if the guys go out and keep progressing the way they're progressing, I think that we have a good chance of winning this game.
Is it? I mean, like Miami, you were a part of those great Miami teams in the late '90s. It's been a bit of a dry spell for the U. How cool is it for you to be an alum, to be so connected to the team, to be in Miami, to see kind of the rebirth of this great football factory that has been the Miami Hurricanes?
No, it's pretty cool. And to watch the kids that you watch on youth football and in high schools actually playing for your school. And the main thing is keeping everybody home. That was one thing that we didn't do such a great job in the past, keeping everybody home, keeping our talent in South Florida. And when you keep talent in South Florida, which has some of the best youth football program and also some of the best high school football programs, it should just translate right into the college football world. And that's what's happening right now. You're seeing a lot of South Florida kids staying home. University of Miami is back to the way the University of Miami always did things. And now we're in the big game, and that's right where we want to be at.
I mean, the flip side to it is Miami's playing Indiana in this game. Like you showed up to the Hoosier State in 1999 when this is still a basketball state when you got here, but you were kind of on that front path of turning this state from a basketball state to a football state. Like, what do you remember about the early days of being here in Indiana and the impact football had on this state back when you were here playing for the Colts?
Well, it was always known Indiana as a basketball state. You always have respect from the basketball standpoint. But football has taken over, and they have a great coach, great organization over there in Indiana. They're doing all the things that it takes to win. And if you look at where the coach comes from, he's coming from out of the Nick Saban tree, which is the same as our coach. So you got two guys with pretty much the same philosophy that's going to be going head to head. So that's what's going to make it so cool. And when you first get to Indiana, the one thing I noticed when I first got there, every house had a basketball court outside of their house, and it was strictly basketball. But it instantly turned into a football state. We did some great things. I think the whole state gravitated to the football aspect, and they've added to their repertoire, so to speak. Like Indiana does basketball and football now. And that's what makes this game going to be so great, because you have two teams that are hungry, two teams that really want – I mean, obviously every team wants to win, but these two teams, Indiana wants to get their first championship. Miami wants to get back to where it's been in the past. So that's what makes this game so great. And for myself, it's just great to be a part of it. And knowing that I have Indiana ties, that makes it even better, because I have a lot of friends coming down. I've actually talked to some of the big three, the big three from the coast, Kaylin, Carly, and Kaylin. They both, and I think two of them went to IU. So we've been going back and forth talking about this game. And I'm going to get a chance to see them while they're down here. And that's what makes it pretty cool, because it's a win-win all the way around, for myself, but always go Canes.
I mean, obviously you gotta support the U, but for it to be Miami versus Indiana, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is an impossible question to answer, but without the Colts and you and Peyton and Marv and Reggie and those guys, do you think Indiana, had you guys not existed, do you think like Indiana football would be able to support like a football program the way they have? I mean, Sig's like, he's like one of the top 3 paid coaches in college football now. Like the foundation you guys laid almost seems like it's helped Indiana grow as a football program here.
I think they got that bug. Once you get that football bug and you start understanding the game and what it does for the city, it does for the people, and it actually does for the kids, it's something that's is pretty much contagious. And I think Indiana has that football bug now. They love football. They love what we've done at the Colts and what the Colts are doing from then and all up until now. And it's spread it throughout the whole state. So Indiana's not just a basketball state. It's a sports town, and football has really planted its feet in that state.
Let's talk. You brought up the Irsay daughters, Carly Irsay Gordon, Casey Foyt, Kaylin Jackson. When you look at the transition from Mr. Irsay, who obviously you were extremely close to them, what do you see in the way that they're leading the Colts organization? That you probably knew them since they were teenagers. What do you see in the way that they're leading the Colts organization now in the next step of Colts ownership?
I see a lot of the big man in them. They're not afraid to go against the norm, not afraid to make tough decisions. And that's been instilled with them from their father. They know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to put an organization in the position to win. And they're not afraid to go against status quo. And that's what you want. You want somebody that's going to go out there and do what they feel is best internally and not so much be concerned about tradition or the way everybody else see things being done. And those daughters, they have it all. They have it in their DNA. So Indianapolis Colts are in good hands.
I find myself, doing this with, people who have passed on in my life of, God, I wish I could talk to them about this or that. Like, have there been moments for you over the last 7-8 months where you're just like, I wish I could talk to the big man about this or that, or maybe if it's even, this college football playoff final, like, has that hit you at moments? And what are some of those things you wish you could, talk to Mr. Irsay about?
Nah, you always just enjoyed the conversation. You enjoyed the conversation the way it went from football, it went from just anything life. You have somebody that has really lived a life that you would love to live. And I've always enjoyed those conversations and so many different experiences. And Mr. Irsay was somewhat of a historian. He has so much information and so many stories that if you just sit there with him for a couple of hours, you'll probably go back to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and all those different times that you weren't aware of. And he brings things to date. And that's something that you always cherish and remember, because you rarely get people to get a chance to experience things from so many different facets of life. And Mr. Irsay, that was something that he did. He came in as a young person. He watched the team. He watched everything with the NFL. He knows so much about the NFL. He grew up in it. He lived it. So you learn a lot just in those conversations. And, those things you miss and the things that you kind of sit back and say, dang, I'm glad that I got a chance to spend that time.
What was it like? I mean, was it like having an owner who knew ball the way that Mr. Irsay knew ball? And by the way that Carly certainly knows ball as someone who's out there who's playing, taking 300 carries a season, to be able to have an owner who understands football. Like, what impact did that have on your career?
No, that's great. And that's the thing that brings you close, because, sports actually bring you together, but the conversations and the deeper the insight and information, it actually takes it to another level. It makes it even better because you can sit up there and talk ball, and you're not just talking about certain facets. You're talking about every facet, and they actually get it. And when you see Carly out there, Carly understands the play. She understands the concept. She's like really driven to really know what's going on. And a lot of times, as players, you look at this thing and you always think it's just business. But no, it's personal with them. They're going to do everything that it takes, but they're not only going to say, oh, you should do this or you should do that. They're going to have the whys behind it.
Let's talk a little bit about Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, who better to ask about Jonathan Taylor than you, Edge? He averaged 114 yards per game going through week 10. And then in the last 7 games of the season, that dropped down to about 63 yards per game. What, in your mind, is the biggest reason for that 50-yard difference from weeks 1 to 10 through weeks 12 to 18 for him?
Well, it was just getting started. This team had just started coming together and started hitting their stride and trying to really get to know each other. That's one thing I don't think people really understand that. It's one thing to just plug a good player with another player, but to actually get a chance to understand each other and know the strengths and the weaknesses, those things right there play a big part. And when you have the quarterback go down and you have the whole scheme has to change, you have to make so many adjustments, it affects everybody. It doesn't affect just the quarterback play or the running back play. It affects the whole team entirely. And that's one thing that you've seen happen this year because we had Daniel Jones go down. And when he goes down, we got to make so many adjustments. And I think Shane and them did the best they could to try to figure out what way could we put ourselves in position to actually continue doing this. And when you come to JT's doing everything that he could do. But in those circumstances, it's tough. It's very tough to try to maintain 114 yards a game when you have a new quarterback, you have this situation, and those different situations that affects the whole. Because it's a team game, and anybody thinks that it's just one person can go out and do these things on their own, they're pretty much delusional because this is a game that everybody leans on everybody. And that's what makes the game so great.
How hard is it to pivot in the middle of a season like, the Colts had to do? I mean, no one with the Colts is like using the injuries as an excuse because you can't as a coach, GM, owner. But like as a player, how hard is that pivot when it's like, all right, the offense that we had been working on and building on, all of a sudden now you get this huge wrench thrown in it with Daniel Jones with the fibula and then ultimately the Achilles. Like how hard is that to deal with that?
No, it's very hard because you work so hard to perfect what you're doing. And you spend so much time. You go from training camp to the preseason to the regular season, and you start building momentum. You start understanding each other. You start understanding in these situations we have to do these things. But then now it's like, oh, we got to start all the way back over. We got to get back up to speed. And that's something that, that's why you're in the professional. You're in the NFL because it's not easy. Not anybody can just get up there and go play and things are just going to click like that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of getting to know each other. And the little things matter.
You mentioned Daniel Jones. He's obviously, rehabbing the Achilles right now. You had to deal with a significant injury during your career with the ACL. What is something about rehabbing a significant injury as an NFL player that no one can understand unless you have been through it?
Well, the first thing is you are not who you were when you first get back out there. You got to kind of relearn yourself, relearn the things that you can do and the things you can't do. And the injuries, they affect certain things. You start compensating, you start leaning on the other side of the body more than you probably would have normally. And it's just a domino effect, but it's a progression also. You have to take your time, you have to ease into things. You can't go into it saying, I know I can do this, I know I can do that. You have to say, okay, you have to ask your body, what will you allow me to do? What am I capable of doing now? And then you build on that.
Let me ask you this. I think sometimes in the media and just the way football's talked about, it's like, oh, he's got an ACL, he'll be back in 8 months. Or he's got the Achilles, he'll be back. And he got the surgery, and he'll be back. But like, I feel like sometimes we miss, as people who talk about it and who aren't having their bodies cut open, like going through surgery is a big deal. What was that the first surgery you went through with the ACL? And like, what do you remember about that experience?
No, that was the first time I've ever been hurt. That was the first time I ever went under the knife and had to go through that stuff. But I had to change my game. You had to change your game. You had to make so many adjustments because, when you're out there and you're young, you just go all day and you say, okay, I can play 60, 70 snaps a game. But then now your body tells you, hey, this is a little bit too much. And so you have to ease into it. And you have to go step by step. So it's more so than what other people said, is that you're learning yourself also.
I guess like the other part of that is like, what do you remember about that day you had surgery? Like, were you nervous? Were you like, were you already thinking about rehab? Like, how did you handle that? Like getting wheeled in, put under, that whole process of going through that surgery?
Surgery was new to me. I really didn't know what to expect. in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'll go have this surgery and I'll just ready to come back and be edge. But the process, the rehab, all the things you have to do to get back to just being normal, those things right there are something you have to learn. Because in your mind, you think you're untouchable. You think, okay, I'm just going to heal and I'll be able to play. But that's not the case. It takes a lot of rehab. It takes a lot of work that you have to put in. You have to commit to it. Not committed to it, but there were times where I was putting in too much. There's a such thing as overdoing things. And by you being a competitor and you want to get out there for your teammates, you want to get out there for yourself and play because that's all you know, you end up doing too much. And that right there, sometimes setbacks happen when you do too much. So it's just finding the right balance in the rehab, pushing yourself, not pushing yourself. And one of the most important things would be the rest and recovery because we all want to get out there. We all want to play because that's all we know. We love to play ball. We want to play at a high level. You don't want to just be on the team. You want to be impactful to the team. But when you go through something like that, it's a process. It's something that's out of your control. You can do everything by the book, but your body has its own manual that it'll tell you when to go, when not to go. And as you learn those things, you're going to get better at those things.
It's really, really great perspective. We're going to take a quick break here on the Colts Show. Right after these messages, I'm going to ask Edge about Reggie Wayne and why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. Right after this. The Colts Show is presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, where every day is game day. Greatness in the NFL starts long before kickoff. It's built in the quiet hours of preparation and the discipline to turn insights into action. The Indianapolis Colts rely on Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs to turn preparation into performance. With real-time AI-powered insights right on the sideline, coaches and players can make smarter, faster decisions when it matters most. From the field to the front office, Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs are transforming how the Indianapolis Colts prepare, strategize, and win. This isn't just about football, it's about unlocking potential wherever the game is played. Hey Colts fans, the Colts Sunday night 7-on-7 series is returning. Boys tackle and dedicated girls flag can train in an open gym format across select Sundays this winter. Presented by Forte Sports Medicine and Orthopedics with support from Gatorade and the Gridiron Foundation. Sign up now at Colts.com/SN7on7. All right, back here on the Colts Show with Edgerrin James. Edge, I teased it right before the break, but why is Reggie Wayne not in the Hall of Fame yet?
Well, with the Hall of Fame, it's one of those things where there's no rhyme or reason for why this person or why that person, unless you just blow it out to just kill it throughout your career, and then it'd be a no-brainer. But somebody like Reggie, he's going to get in, and I always tell him, look, it's not a matter if you're going to get in. It's just a matter of when. Just be patient. Don't get frustrated with the process because, a lot of people had to wait, and there's so many great guys that have played this game. And it's just a matter of when your time comes. And when his time comes, we're going to bring him in. We're going to celebrate him. And he's going to make up for all those times that he missed. He's going to get the feeling that he would have gotten. And the appreciation that I've learned over the years has come from the people who have waited the longest. When you come fresh out of football and you automatically go, it's like the norm. You got another award, but this one right here, you had to wait. And then once you get there and you get a chance to actually feel it, you'll take all that stuff will be like just a blur to you because you'll say, look, man, this right here was really worth it. I'm here because statistically, everybody knows Reggie Wayne has done everything it takes to be in the Hall of Fame. But the process is something that they don't really have true measurables that you can say, okay, he's going to come in right now or he's going to come next year. It's just a matter of who's up. And everybody's deserving. Once you become a finalist, just buckle your seat and just be ready for when that time comes.
I want to ask you too, Edge, about the article that just came out in The Athletic on Friday, and it was about how you're kind of exploring getting into media and doing more stuff like this. Which thanks for coming on the pod here. But you did live TV for Fox NFL Sunday earlier this year. I guess why do you want to get into that space, and what do you think you have to offer to provide analysis and insight on a platform like Fox NFL Sunday?
I think that's what it is. It's about insight. You have insight and you know football effortlessly. You know, that's one thing that I know in sports in general. And I think that's another way that for me it's like a somewhat of a mentorship for the younger guys. They get a chance to, get advice from somebody that's been there, done that. And also for the fans, you get a whole lot of insight, get a lot of intel, not from somebody who that's been around the game, somebody that actually played the game. And for myself, I think the timing is it's pretty good right now because I love sports. I like being involved. I'm not into the coaching thing, and this is one way that I could give back to the game and just kind of pay it forward.
It's funny, you mentioned that. Like, we have Jack Doyle doing a podcast for us, and he said he's had these conversations with like Luck, where he's like, you get this PhD in football during your playing career, and then you need to like have an outlet for it when you're done. And it sounds like obviously you've got so much insight. I loved what you said on Fox NFL Sunday about how like there's not like a lot of running backs out there who are doing it, so you can bring that like running back perspective to it. But what was that experience like for you doing live TV and having to I see you had an IFB in your ear? That can be like an intimidating thing even for former pro athlete. Like, what was that experience like for you?
It was too easy. It was
I
too
love
easy.
it. I love it. Of course it
I
was.
was, for myself, when you know something and you're passionate about it, like I know sports, and it's just a matter of delivering it to the people, trying to make sure that people understand, what's really going on. Because a lot of times things they're coming secondhand, and somebody's getting information based upon what somebody told them. And for myself, it's like when I look at television, I like to speak to somebody who has actually been there, done that. It's like you're not going to go and try to go in some career, or you're going to venture into something and get advice from somebody who has never done it, doesn't really, that haven't really experienced it, not to take away from the guys that do this, that have not played at this
Mhm.
level. But I just think it brings another element to the game when you get somebody that actually played the game, somebody that knows the game, and you actually talk the game every day. And when you're talking about the young kids that are on the parks, we're out there watching these kids develop. We're out there actually helping those guys become, whatever they get a chance to become from your past experience. And then you only get to meet so many. But if you actually get on the television and you actually get in front of a bigger audience, you can help more people, you can provide more insight. And that's one thing that I say I don't mind doing, as long as it wasn't controversial stuff where I have to diss somebody, I have to go out
Mhm.
and do all this stuff to belittle somebody. I'm like, I'll turn that stuff down. But it's something that's positive, and you can give constructive criticism. You can talk based upon facts and know-how and your personal experiences. I think that's what's needed.
You are 100% correct. That is what is needed more in media, is like actual, just, positive conversations. And yeah, you can be critical, but you're not doing it in a way where you're burying someone. I think that's great. I thought you did a great job on it. And I loved it. You kind of talked about like Saquon, right? Like they were asking you like, why isn't Saquon, running it like we saw last year? And I thought your analysis of it was really good, and it was insightful. And I also think too, like if you're talking about like how you can inspire other people, like I don't know, maybe did you think about like, hey, if you're like maybe a high school running back or like an eighth grader, and like you're struggling to kind of get going, but you see what you said about Saquon, it's like, well, yeah, it can happen in the NFL too. Like how inspirational, do you think that can be for you using the your platform like that?
No, I think it's great. And I think it's missing. A lot of time when you talk to a lot of kids, or you even talk to anybody that's in the game, or a lot of parents come, they're discouraged because everybody goes off stats. Stats are the thing that says, hey, you had a great game or you didn't have a great game. When for me, I never looked at the stats, because the stats are going to take care of themselves. But what did you do to impact the game? What did you do to impact the situation? Did you do your job? Did you, if you're a running back and you say, and they say, okay, yeah, he didn't have 100 yards, but he converted four crucial third downs, 3rd and 1. He did his job, and that's what it's about. It's a team game. It's about doing your job. And I just think bringing those different perspectives to the game, and actually to the people, it eliminates a lot of the excuses. because you got some guys they can go and they might get 2 sacks in a game, right? But they still lose the game. Did they impact the game? Did they help their team? But statistically, it says, hey, they're leading the league in sacks, so they're doing these great things when it's about the whole game. And I try to look at the game as a whole, like what did it do to help? When playing for the Colts, there's a time and a place that you're not going to get to carry the ball. You're not going to get the carries, but did you get up there and pick up the blitz? Did you get up there and help the team when it needed you the most? And I think that's the thing that's kind of frustrating right now for a lot of people. And I look at the situation in Philadelphia, for example. You have a guy like A.J. Brown, he's frustrated. You want the targets, you want to play, you want to be a part of something. But at the same time, the game is not flowing that way. But in his defense, you think about what is he going to be judged by? He's going to be judged by, did he catch the ball? Did he have statistically a great game? And now if you don't have great stats, now you're not going to get a big contract. You don't get a big contract, you're like, man, but I did everything they asked me to do. So it's about putting things in perspective. And I think that's what's missing, because everybody's going to jump on the fantasy bandwagon. They say, okay, yeah, I got fantasy points. Okay, how do you get fantasy points? By statistically, but did it impact the game? Did it help the team? And I think that's what's missing, because you're judged by something, and then is it really helping or hurting the organization? And I just try to look at it from every perspective, where you can tell a team, you can tell a guy like, look, man, you may not have had a great game statistically, but you converted that third down. You made that important catch. You did something that helped the whole. And that's the thing that get a lot of criticism from the media or even from the fans when a guy doesn't do certain things, but he did his job. He, like, say a guy, he runs his route, he runs the receiver off, and now your running back's able to have a big run, or he go out there and he blocks for the running back, and vice versa. So those things right there are the insight that's missing a lot of time.
Who on the Colts is like one of those guys for you, who you're like, yeah, maybe he's not he's not getting 20 touchdowns like JT, but who you're like, that guy does his job and he doesn't get enough credit?
Well, I think when you look at if the running back's having a lot of success, it usually comes from the offensive line and also the wide receivers. The wide receivers, they're out there blocking, they're on their man. And if you look at the Colts, when JT's making those big runs, you have the receivers, they're on their guy. They're blocking down the field. You have everybody doing their job. So they may say, hey, Pittman, you're not having a great year statistically, but he's doing what he's asked to do. He's blocking, and it's a reason you have those things. It's like when Peyton and Marv, they're getting all these catches and touchdowns. It's like, hey, Ed, you didn't have a 200-yard game, or you didn't have this. The game didn't dictate that. The game didn't say, hey, it's time to run the ball, or it's time to put the ball in your hands. So it's a lot of give and take. And I think that's what happened. When you see a running back having the big runs, it comes from, first of all, he has to be good, make the right decision. It starts up front. And then your receivers have to either run somebody off, or they got to be blocking somebody. Because if not, if they load the box up and they don't have nobody to block, it's like a free fall. And you never want that.
Along those lines, what is your favorite game of your career? Because I had a couple circled that I was like, well, obviously it's got to be like Seattle or Chicago in like 2004. But what I'm hearing from you is, are those your favorite games, or is it something else?
Well, statistically, they're your favorite game because you got a chance to show that you're capable of doing things. But for me, it was the games like when we come to Miami and we played against the Miami Dolphins, and you're playing in front of your friends and your peers that you always grew up around. Those were your favorite games. Or those playoff games when it's like it's a dogfight and you got to play, and it's like you have to find pride in doing your job. Like for me, I can be in a game and I can make a block and nobody never see it, but I felt so good about being able to make that block. If the lineman may have had a mental error and missed it, and I was able to abort my route and go and make that block, those are things right there. I used to always take pride in those things, and you don't get credit for them but it's that inner pride to say, look, man, I just helped him out, or I just did my job and I did what I was supposed to do to help the team.
All right, I want to get you out of here on this. You watch the modern game. What is something about the way football is played today that you're just like, God, I wish I could get after that as someone who played in a different era even of the NFL?
When I played the game, I did both. If I was playing the game now, I would probably be more focused on the receiving end. I would probably be focused on the route running because it's an instant advantage for the running back because of the way the game is set up, and that's why I like watching McCaffrey. McCaffrey is like a mismatch all day, and if you can play, if you can do well in the passing game, like you're gonna have a lot of fun out there. You're gonna have a lot of fun nowadays because right now the mismatches, they work in the running back's favor if you can actually receive that ball.
But also running backs today, I mean, you talked about blitz pickups. Obviously, teams have been blitzing forever. But like these like sim pressures where I think like it was like Dick LeBeau is the one who kind of pioneered it with the Steelers. But it's like you got these two linebackers mugged up over the center and you got to figure out which four are coming. It's trying to keep the running back in because those running, like you talked about, those running back targets are so valuable. Is there anything to like the complexity of blitzes that you look at and you're like, man, like that would have been like fun to kind of get with Peyton and like diagnose these things?
No, because it's all the more you prepare, the easier the game becomes. And on the defensive side of the ball, there's only certain things they can do. They can come and they can mug up and they can act like they're coming, but it's still a count system. If it's four on the shell, it's seven in the box, and that means the lineman has five down, and you're either gonna have this one or that one. It's not really complex. It's a simple game. It's just sometimes we make it a little more complicated than it actually is. But the game is very simple when you break the numbers down. If you see three high, that means it's eight in the box. That means, hey, something might happen. But if you see four and somebody back, they don't have a chance. If you have a quarterback like Peyton, he's going to dissect that thing so fast. It's going to be so easy. So I never was intimidated or tripping on what the defense done because once you understand concepts, there's only so many things that they can do.
All right, last one for you, Edge. You made it to the pinnacle of the NFL. You're in the Hall of Fame. If you could give like one piece of advice, the most important piece of advice to kids who are playing high school, middle school, Pop Warner, whatever it might be, what is the one thing you would tell them about what it takes to make it, not just in college, not just in the NFL, but like make it to the top of playing this sport?
Well, one thing that I find common amongst, like, even when I go to the Hall of Fame and we sit down and we talk and you sit at the table with a lot of the Hall of Famers, and it's about the commitment and the discipline because there's so many distractions. And if you're committed to it and you have discipline, those are the things that's going to take you so far, because you have to train, you have to do all the basics, you have to work out, you have to train. But when the distractions come, what are you going to do? Those are the things that separate the players, because once you start having success, there's media interviews, there's appearances, there's all these different distractions. You have to block all that stuff out and say, look, I'm committed to the game. These things come first. Those things right there, I'll do those in my downtime. So you have to be 100% committed to the game. And the guys that are usually committed to the game and they're actually good, they usually go a whole lot farther than the guys that just play the game or they let distractions become a true problem for them. So that's what I would always talk about, that you got to be committed to what you're doing and the discipline to actually stay on the right path.
Right on. Edge, it has been great talking to you. Thank you for joining me here on the podcast. We look forward to seeing you out there in the media a little bit more. We'll keep our eye out for podcasts, for TV appearances that you're doing, and good luck on Monday night for your Canes.
Thank you, man. Go Canes.
All right. I'm sure most of our listeners are going to be like, no. But, hey, that's great. Appreciate it, Edge. Thank you.
All right. Okay, cool. I'll talk to you.